Good morning, everyone. I just shot a picture out my window. I'll throw it at the end. It's a beautiful place out there. Nice lake. There's streams that run into it, but they're on the other side. I don't see those. If I still fished, it would be a good place to go. But I don't fish anymore. It's too much trouble. I can go to the supermarket and get fish in their natural environment. I don't know if you've heard some of these crazy people talk, but it's like, we shouldn't kill animals when you can just go to the market and get all the meat you want. This is the problem that we're fighting. It's absolute ignorance. And they've done this on purpose. This is why the federal school union thing, they're looking at taking it down too. It's been basically, we are, according to their numbers, and the media hasn't challenged them, so I'm assuming that they're right, we are 40th in the nations of 40 that were counted as far as the quality and the ability to learn and teach, and for the students that come out of that. We're number 40th, not number 1. Yet, we are number 1 in one thing. We spend more money per student than any other country in the world. So it's not teaching, it's indoctrination, it's propaganda, it's lies. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. I got to cut his nails today. He's just clawing at everything, including me. Stop that. See, this is the topic. Hello, baby. He's trying to bite me. The topic of my message this morning is distractions. Thank you for the object lesson there, Rapture Kitty. And while I bring that up, don't let the rapture be a distraction. We have a job to do. Tell people about Christ. Spread the gospel. That's our job. Anything else we do is incidental to that. As long as it doesn't interfere with that, we can do it. All right, he found his ball. So we'll have some noise over there for a little while. More distractions. Okay, well, who's the best at distractions? And I know the obvious is politicians, but we're going to ignore that for the moment. Would be a magician. I don't know if anybody's seen, any of the magicians perform. David Copperfield would be a big one. He's a big performer. What's the other two? They've been going through and revealing how magicians do their thing. Maybe it's that guy and a small skinny guy. I can't remember their names. I'll look it up and figure it out. I can't remember anybody's names unless I'm using them on a regular basis. But when I was in elementary school, I went to school with the son of Mark Wilson. He would be the first celebrity magician in the United States anyway. He got on TV and traveled and did all kinds of stuff and had a little magic kit you could buy, and I had one. I learned all the little tricks. His son would show us tricks, and then we could buy some of the tools that were needed to do the tricks. A lot of times they're using something that's modified. I had a little magic bag. You put something in it and then it disappears, but it had a little lever that you could basically move the liner from one side to the other. So you put something in the one side and then you move the liner over, and when you feel inside, it's not there. And it's thick enough that you can't feel it. Any case, magicians basically do not perform spiritual magic. Their sleight of hand is called distraction. And that's what we're talking about then this morning. Now, the word magician comes from the Greek word magikos, which means magical. Also comes from an old French word, that magicien, which means magician or sorcerer. The spiritual ones of the day back then were called magi. They were into spiritual things. They didn't necessarily get up and do tricks and juggle and do all that. And I can juggle, by the way. It's been a little while, but I've got my juggling balls. Maybe I'll do that. You throw one over here and you throw one over here, and then you get the third one in the air before the other one comes down. So you're constantly moving them. Okay. So anyhow, it's an old word, coming even before that from Persia, word meaning magus. So it goes back a long time. It can go all the way back to our Prince of Persia days, and we know who he represents. So it's kind of, it's a line that you can walk, but you got to be careful. And people who are performers are okay. People who are astrologers, let me read your palm. You want your palm red? Okay, here's some red paint. You want, a fortune teller on a crystal ball? You've seen the jokes on this where they get a lady in at the crystal ball and let me read your fortune on the crystal ball. I need you to close your eyes so you don't see what they're doing. And then she grabs the purse and opens it up and starts getting information out of it, then puts it back. Now she's got enough information to feed the narrative of the lie. Well, that's what we see every day if you watch the news. Okay. So, let's see, I already covered that. Yes, I already covered that. So this art of distraction, it's actually in their handbooks that they've been using for overthrowing the world. It's in Mein Kampf. It doesn't tell you how to be a magician, but it tells you distraction. And Rules for Radicals, two main handbooks that these people have been using. You don't have to read them, just know that they were written by people with the intent of how to overthrow a government and a world from within. And it became very successful. If they didn't push for it when they finally had an opportunity. They should have grabbed it and they didn't. And that was to our advantage, because then by that time a magician's no good once you learn how the trick works. So if something comes up, if someone's shot, if a fire is going on someplace, if they don't necessarily control the weather, they can, but that isn't necessarily it. They haven't got full control. God doesn't give them that much. But the Bible has talked about this all the time. Keep your focus, keep your mind on Christ and what he wants you to do. Don't be distracted. Don't turn from side to side. Stay focused. And the world won't bother you. It won't frighten you. It won't interfere with what you're doing. Squirrel. Jeremiah 51:46. Lest your heart be faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. How many rumors to the left come? The Republicans are shoving little old ladies in wheelchairs off of cliffs. What a shameful act. How about lying to the American people is more shameful. There was no one to call them out until relatively recently. They bought up all the mainstream media. They still own the mainstream media. George Soros is a big owner of media. And of course, he is one world government folk. All the billionaires and trillionaires that are out there, I don't know if there's any trillionaires, but there might be in the Middle East. But in any case, they're happy with one world government because they're going to get to keep their money. If the one world government said, you got to give up your money, they'd be against it. Rumor heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that another year shall come another rumor. In violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Anything that they can do to keep this turning up. Riots in the streets, distraction. They're good at it. Major fires, whether it's California or Hawaii, distractions. Proverbs 4:25. Let thine eyes look right on, and let thy eyelids look straight before thee. Like I said, it's Proverbs' way of saying, stay on track, stay focused on the Spirit of God and what Jesus is telling you. Don't let the stuff go on around you convince you otherwise. We just talked about Jesus sleeping in the boat while there was a storm going on outside. Talk about not being distracted. The boat was taking on water, and he still wasn't distracted. They finally got him up. He calmed the water, and O ye of little faith. 4:26. Ponder the path of thy feet, let all thy ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. So if you step the wrong way, step back. Jesus is our GPS. But he's not going to, if you go off to the right because you're going to follow a path, he's not going to adopt that new path. He's going to tell you where to turn to get back on the right path. There's a difference. Our regular GPS, if you turn and go one way, it may take you that way. Luke 21:34, and take heed to yourself, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness, being tossed about. Drunkenness is being tossed about. Surfeiting, we get surfing from that, being tossed by the waves, and cares of this life, so that day come upon your unawares. Don't let the daylight come up on you and you're still doing something bad. For as a snare shall come on them all that dwell on the face of the earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all the things that shall come to pass, the tribulation in the future, and to stand before the Son of God. That's all alternative. Instead of going through the tribulation, we get to stand before the Son of God. That's a worthy distraction. 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved of God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. There are people that take the truth and go off on tangents with it. Rightly divide it so it cuts the straight path. If something in the Bible tells you to do something against that path or against the Word of God, it's an improper interpretation. But shun profane and vain babblings. People of Babylon babbled, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. And that's what would have happened to them. They were already being ungodly because God told them to scatter, and they didn't. So he made them scatter. I didn't get my last verse in here. But I like it, so I'll open up my Bible and read it. Romans 8. There is therefore no condemnation for them which are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Your path is important. For the law of the Spirit of the life of Christ has made me free from the law of sin and death. You don't have to walk off the path. You can stay on the path. I don't remember what the actual verse was, but that was fine. What was the verse? Romans 8:28. It was towards the end. And you know this one. And you know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So follow the path and don't worry about it. The path is the right path. Now, does that mean you're not going to stumble over stuff? There's not going to be rocks and holes in the path? No. Some you can step over, some you can walk around, some you may fall into the holes or trip over the rocks. That's okay. If that's God's path, do it. Somebody watching you trip, fall down, and get up and continue on can apply that to their lives. Now, if you just sit there and cry, and I can't get up, I've fallen and I can't get up, that's not a good example. If you're swearing like a sailor, it's not a good example. All right. My antenna is back in place. I should have no problem updating, but this is my message for the day. A little shorter than normal, but I'm still struggling with the internet, with YouTube. Every one of my numbers are down. The total number of hours watched, the total number of minutes watched, the total number of videos, views, everything, they're down. The total number that you watch each. I normally get 200 to 500 views per video. I'm below 200 on many cases now because people can't find me. So I need your help. I'm still trying different things to see if I can overcome their filters. But it appears that there's a problem with YouTube. They've doubled down on their "we hate the world, we love Satan" mantra. Now, they're not going to come out and say that, but that's what they're doing. So I need your help. Share my videos. Be sure to watch them. Watch them all the way through, even if you don't want to listen to the subject. Every day I do a different subject, so you might not like every one of them. Start the video and then mute it and walk away and let it run. I get credit for the time. Click the like button. They see that. It costs you absolutely nothing to do those two things. Share it. It costs you absolutely nothing. If you want to contribute, click the thanks button. Or go to PayPal or Patreon or one of the other ones. They're in the description. You can help. If you're not able to do your own ministry, help another ministry get the word out, and then you're part of that. Your tithes can go to help somebody else if it's not going to help you. Till we meet in the clouds, God bless. Looking out my window inside, that's what I get to see. The lake's going back to where it's at a proper level. I don't know if it's going to stay there or not, but that's where it should be. It's cold outside, but it's warm in here. Thanks for praying for me and my family and this ministry. Blessings, everyone.